Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. Today, we have the honor and the pleasure of having April Collins, a personal injury lawyer from down in Birmingham, Alabama. Glad to have you on the show.
It's good to be here, Ken.
Yeah, so April's one of our mastermind members, and we were doing a mastermind, and she was talking about her growth, and I said, would you be willing to share some of that? She's not going to share everything now, but a lot of it, of what it took to, like, the growth she's seen. But first, I want you to just kind of tell your story, April, like introduce yourself and take us on your journey. And then we'll talk about what are some of the 4 or 5 keys that you've seen to help you double your practice.
All right, Ken. Well, let me first say thank you for having me on. I have been listening to this podcast for years, and I remember listening to it years ago and just thinking, I would love to be on that podcast one day. So I'm really excited to be here. I am actually from a small town, Athens, Alabama. A lot of people haven't heard about it, but we're growing, or it is growing. I'm not there anymore. Went through Athens, went to undergrad at UAB in Birmingham, and then I went to Faulkner in Montgomery for law school. So before going even to undergrad, I was a teenage mother. So I had a child, and we went through that journey together to go through school and in law school. After law school, I worked for the government. I actually did some discrimination housing work, and it wasn't in an attorney role, but I wanted to always practice, but I'd never thought I would own my own firm. So that has been something that was never it was never in my mind to do that. I never thought I would. And so happy that I've made that journey here to do that. So in 2015, I left the government. I started my practice in my basement. I stayed in my basement for 3 years, just doing a little part-time here and there. And then in 2018 is when I got out and actually, got at least a little space. We stayed in that space for a few years, moved to a bigger space. And last year I purchased a building where we will be permanently. And so just so excited for the journey from the basement. From
Yeah,
the basement, we've increased quite a bit.
that is, man, that's wild. That's wild. So when did you buy the building?
Bought the building in 2020, what's this, 26? So it would have been 2024. And then
Okay.
renovated. It was, actually, we renovated it. That took some time, and we moved in June of 2025.
So where were you at when COVID hit? Because that hurt a lot of personal injury lawyers.
You know what? COVID did not impact me as much. I think I actually continued to grow through COVID because remember, I started in my basement. So when I started, I was already doing virtual things, so virtual wasn't anything that I had to grow into or learn so
Right.
much. But we were in the little office space when COVID hit, but we even before COVID, we weren't clients weren't coming into our office. We rarely were having people coming in. They were signing forms through the like something like DocuSign. We were either mailing their check, and every now and then somebody would want to come and pick it up. But COVID didn't impact us at all, not in a negative way, I would say.
Right. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah. So what I want to talk about today, well, that is a journey from your basement to owning your own building. How about that? That's the American dream, right?
It is, it is. And in the let me say this, Ken, in the interim of that, I was having growing a family. I have 4 children. The first one, like I said, I was a teenage mom. The second one, I was 8 months pregnant, taking the bar exam. And then the third one, she was just a couple months old when I started my practice. So at every turn, every journey, there was a baby involved, a nice addition to the family,
Right.
but also helped to kind of, I would say motivate me. With each child, there was a different type of motivation. So I always knew I wasn't going to be able to be in a somebody else's firm. I never thought I would own my own, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to work with for anybody else because I needed to be flexible for my family.
Yeah, that's really important. I think it's harder for women who have children too. I mean, and I can't say it because I've had the luxury of not having babies. I had children, but it's different because I just think for the most part, the mother is the nurturer. So it's kind of tough. And you got to, I know Tiana, my wife, she had kids and not in law school, but right after when she was practicing. And it really tears you. You get torn between wanting to be with the babies and wanting to, provide bread for the baby, make a living. It can get hard to juggle your time, I would think, you know. So I admire any woman that's been successful in creating a law firm. I think it's 4 or 5, maybe even 10 times harder than a man. And I think men take it for granted. I really do. So kudos to you, April.
Thank you, Ken. It's definitely been a lot of hard work, but a lot of rewards behind it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I know when you were in the basement, I guess it was just you, and then you went and leased this little space. And then when did you start hiring staff and things like that?
So my first staff person, and it's wild too, but my first staff was my brother. I hired him, it would have been probably later 2018, and he was just doing some things part-time for me. That was one of the things, and we're talking about growth, but not, I guess when you haven't done this before, trust is a big thing. You're not sure who you can trust, who can I hire anybody, and so that kind of held me back a little bit. And so I started with my brother, which he did a great job. He'll help me here and there now, but I was nervous to step out and just hire. And then I was still in my basement, so I had to hire somebody that I felt comfortable with coming into my home. So,
Right, right.
yes, my brother was my first hire, actually.
That's wild. So when did you join Pilma?
It's 2026. Had to have been, was it 2022 or 2023? It's been a while. I started as a gold member, getting the great resources, learning as much as I can. And I know we're going to talk about, how I've gotten here. And that's one thing I would say is mindset is the first thing that I had to change and to learn to develop into a business woman. I didn't have business background. I didn't have family members who ever owned, big businesses or go to law school. And so I had to learn. And I would always search for things and never really could find what I thought would be specific to personal injury. And I came across Pilma, thank goodness. I came across Pilma and the resources that the gold members that I got, I learned so much. And listening to your podcast, I learned a lot. So I would say in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I've been a member of Pilma.
Right. You're now Miss Mastermind member, if I remember correctly.
I am a mastermind member, and when I say it just takes it so many notches above, the gold membership is great. I loved it, learned what I could. But now that I've been in mastermind, it's so much information and being able to be in a group of people and share ideas and learn from others' mistakes. That has also helped me because, the mistakes that maybe they've made, I don't have to make those. And, I'm always happy to share with my group members as well. But Pilma has been, I would say, an integral part of the growth that we've had, the just the knowledge that I've been able to get. Because again, when you're coming from small town, small town I came from, and the I would just say the culture and the background that I've come from, I didn't get what I needed to be able to be have this type of business and to flourish in it. So I had to reach out and seek out and get that information. So Pilma has just been, I would say, one of a really, really big part of that growth.
Well, thank you. So for our listeners and viewers, what would you say are like the top 3 to 5 keys you think? Because tell us where you were, like, tell us, like, you got to get into numbers, but like, what was it that you went like you doubled your firm? Like you were telling me before we started this podcast that, you've doubled your staff, you've doubled your income. Tell us some of the things that you think were the key to that.
Well, I'll first start. Of course, I gave Pilma, thank you for all the resources and everything that you have provided, Ken, to help us to get to this point. I started again in my basement. First, it was me, then my brother, and now we have 15 employees. And this is from 2018. to now, 2026. Mindset, I talked about mindset. That's the first thing. I learned a lot about mindset through PILMA and, learning how to take calculated risks and to not be afraid to take those risks. A lot of people have the mindset, when you get money, it's like, well, I'm going to hoard all of this and I don't want to use it for anything. But I've learned that, in order to grow, you have to spend money. And that was a little bit hard for me because it's like you want to keep it, but not just spend it wildly, of course. It has to be calculated. You need to put it into measures that will grow the firm. I've been more open to that. And I think since I have been more open to that, I have grown. Hiring people, you think, well, that's more money, but if you hire smart, then that can help you make more money. So those are things that myself, in my mind, I had to get through that blockage of, okay, do I put this money, away and tuck it somewhere, or do I put it back into the firm? Do I invest it into the firm? And that's what I've been doing. And again, hiring the right people. Of course, I think everybody has those times when you may not get it right all the time, but if you consistently try to bring in the right people at the right time for the right role, that can help you as well. And so those are a couple of things that I can just mention right off the top that have been a big part of the growth.
Yeah, I mean, Vern Harnish, wrote Scaling Up, he was one of my mentors, and he said, no great business is built on the back of average employees. You've got to have as many A players as you can have. So that's where I think a lot of people, it's where you hear that too. I think Atticus guys wrote a book called, Our Slow, Fire Fast. And I've always pushed that. I mean, because it's so important. You're going to invest so much money in these people, training them, and you got to train them. Because if you don't train them, then you're wasting money too. So I think I can tell you, like, I can attribute like at least 50% of my growth in everything I've ever done to hiring the right people and then having KPIs, or accountability and alignment and all that kind of stuff, that they got the same core values and they think like you do. And like, if you're big on customer service, they're going to be big on customer service and, and they treat each other right. They work as a team. And like, I don't know if you've got to that point yet, but like I've seen this mistake, and it's not always a mistake, but more times than not, it's when you got somebody that's like really, really good at their job, and then you promote them to management, and they don't do a good job, and then you can't demote them. So now you've lost a great employee. But there's tests out there that you can give people to see if they got good management qualities. I mean, to be honest, April, I don't test really good on managing people. I test good on leadership, ideals, visionary. But I've always really tried to hire real strong office managers, CEOs, whatever you want to call them, director operator, whatever it is, whoever's like second in command to run the day-to-day business. Because I don't think that's my strength. I think self-awareness is so important to surround yourself. And I bet you did this. Surround yourself with people who might be smarter than you are on certain things, and that's okay. And then you can push your time to work on stuff that you're good at and that you enjoy and love. So I got a feeling, you can tell me, but I got a feeling that when I see people grow, usually they're doing some sort of that, whether they know they're doing it or they don't know they're doing it, but they're focusing in on things they love to do, and it gives them they got a passion for it.
I think that's true too, Ken. And I tell my staff all the time, I want to use them for their highest and best use. That's another thing. You want to use them at their peak level. But you talked about, where sometimes you put manager people in the wrong positions. And I almost made that mistake because I had somebody who had been in my office for a while. And I thought, well, you always think that's the next step, just move them up to management. And it was through Pilma, where it was, reading things and hearing some of your podcasts, I thought a little bit more about that. And I actually had a conversation with her, and she said, I don't know if I could do that. She's even in her mind, she's like, she's already having anxiety about it. So happy that I did not make that mistake and lose a good employee who was good for what she was doing, thinking that I could just bump her up to management. So didn't make that mistake. I want to go back to hiring though, because I do want to give you your kudos. Thank you, Ken. And you didn't put me on here to give you all these shout outs. I know that, but
No,
I was so nervous about hiring my first associate, and going into the mastermind, we're talking about hiring, and just I'm so nervous about it. And I know the mastermind group is like, well, the next time you come back, I'm going to be, ready for you to hire. We want to see that you hired an associate. And I text you and you talked to me about it. You sent me some information to help me, get through that. And I hired her and she's been there and she's been great. I don't know why
right.
my mindset, and I say mindset is what we need to help us to grow, but my mindset on that part, because you think, what if they come in and try to take my information and run? And
Yeah.
there's so many different things. How do I pay them? What kind of structure? The compensation structure was one of the big things that had me blocked, and you gave me some information about that. So I'm really thankful for you, to be so open and giving of yourself to help people like me who've never done this before and just learning as I go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So it ain't all about me though. You had to have some focus and you had to have some. I tell people you can have all the information in the world and the best ideas in the world, but if you don't execute, you got to get shit done. And so you must have I would think that you've got something in maybe that's part of your mindset that you actually get stuff done and don't talk about it forever. I see people that do not grow, they're scared to make a move and they want to talk it out. And it's like, or wait till they're ready. And it's like getting married or having children, which we were talking about earlier. If you wait till you can afford it or wait till you're ready, you'll never do it. Either get
That's right.
or have children. You've got to take the plunge and you got to get things done. I mean, I think that was key to my success is I wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but I didn't sit around and lollygag. I made things happen. And sometimes I made mistakes, but I made them quick and I got over them. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about all that?
I think all of that is really true. For me, even, sometimes I will go to conferences and you get a lot of information, but I tell myself, what two or three things can I implement right now? And so, of course, I'm not jumping out at the first thing that comes out or, but I do go in and I figure out how do we change or what do we do? What can I do to make this better? How do I implement this? And going into another thing about growth. Developing systems, processes and procedures has been something that I'm continuously doing. This is not something that is, once a year. I find myself updating and, making videos, making manuals, policies. All of these things are a constant. And so while I think it's learning, like you said, of the information is great, but if you never implement it, you never sit down and block off a day or however long you need to get it done, the information is just sitting there and it's not really helping you.
You said something very important. You can't scale or grow a business, whether it be a law firm or anything else, unless you have the process and procedures so that you can hire people, onboard them, and then have accountability. Because I think what you're doing is you're setting it up to really grow. I mean, I know you've doubled, but we've had people in Pillmont that have 10 times it. I mean, it's possible. And they did the same things when they were at your stage. They were getting their infrastructure set up, getting their I call them SOPs, whatever you want to call them, standard operating procedures. But and having what a win is, what benchmarks are, so people know what a win is. They've done a good job. I call it. It's sort of like I played sports, not very good, but I played them, and that's why we have scoreboards. We want to see who won, right? And I think employees want that too. They want to know if they won or if they lost the game. I think I know I do. I never did like that stuff where the kids play the ball. And I understand some people are going to disagree with me, but I just never, and I guess it's because I'm old fashioned, but I never liked the stuff where they play the games, they don't keep score. I want to know. And I know when they're 5 or 6, maybe, but when they get 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I want to know. I want to know if we won or we didn't win so I can figure out what I got to do to improve. I don't know.
Right. And the motivation. I mean, it gives you motivation to do better. And a lot of people, some
Yeah.
people are competitive within themselves, they compete with themselves. And so I have an employee now, she's really great, but for herself, she's really not worried about what others are doing. She's like, I want to beat my number from last month. I want to beat my number. And so every month, we are showing what numbers we hit, who hit what during our meetings, our monthly meetings. So we do share that every meeting, monthly meeting, so that they can see where they are.
Yeah. And I was reading this book. I don't even remember the name of it. Maybe it was an article, and it was talking about motivating people. And the deal is, it says you really can't motivate people. They're either motivated or not. But what you can do, a lot of time, motivation, they have to take actions that will give them self confidence. It's got a lot to do with self confidence and self esteem because they're kind of scared of failure and all this kind of stuff, but or they don't think it's obtainable. Like, if you say, yeah, if you can do this, you can do this, get this raise, you can go up to this level, you can go to this, you can transfer. And I think most people, if you look at really successful people, they're very confident. I would say some of them are even cocky. I mean, to be honest with you, but I've seen some very humble people too that were very confident. It's You got to be self assured of yourself. What I'm saying is, and it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay. And I think anybody out here is listening to this, it's okay. I mean, you just got to always look at mistakes as learning experiences, but you
Mhm.
don't know how far the edge is till you reach it, fall off, then you can crawl back up, and now you know what the edge is. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think the bigger the risk, more careful you got to be. Like, there's a big difference in deciding whether to hire associate or whether to go out and try to go to a whole new state and set up a whole new practice area, because you
Mhm.
could really bomb at that. But if you hire, the most you got to lose, well, we could argue about that, but it's a lot less to lose on hiring associates versus trying to spend $1 million to go into another practice area in another state. That takes more. And I've seen lawyers that were too confident and go in and lose a lot of money. Like you said earlier, you don't want to waste the money. You want to make sure you got a good ROI. And I think that's the deal. And you got to pick stuff to pick your marketing dollars. And it's not crazy. You got to know what your cost per case is. And you got to know what your average fee is because as we teach it in the masterminds, you want at least 5 to 6 times. If it costs you $3,000 to get a case, then your average fee better be 15,000 or more. Don't you're in trouble, you know. And if you
Right.
either got to raise your fee or you got to lower your cost of acquisition, and I don't know. When I first started practicing, though, April, nobody thought about anything about this, and the problem was it wasn't as much saturation and competition, and you could really be bad at business and still make a lot of money if you just knew how to go try cases. It really didn't matter. I mean, I'm serious. It was just so the call. I mean, there was no marketing back in till what 80 when was 87, 86. I can't remember. But anyway, like I started in 82. There was no market. You could put a yellow page ad. That was it. That was it. You couldn't do. There was no internet. There was no social media. You couldn't go on TV. You couldn't go on radios. But things have changed, just like now. AI, right? We're getting close to the end. Anything else? And then I want to ask you about what you think about AI and all that stuff. But right now, what are the other keys you think to your success have been in Dublin?
Well, well, Ken, you mentioned marketing, and I want to just talk a little bit about that because we talked about, making calculated risks with mindset, but marketing got to be, marketing smart. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, and just like probably other cities, we're in a very competitive market. The 800-pound gorillas are here, as you say, and I had to learn to lean into what makes me different. And, if you look at me, it's not hard to see. And so I I had to lean into that instead of shying away from it because I think that sometimes when you see the 800-pound gorillas, you see the people who are marketing, and you're someone like me, you think, well, I can't do what they're doing, or at least maybe, like they are doing it. But what I've learned is that I can, in my own, find my own strength, my own superpower in who I am, and to use the authenticity that I have to find the people who want to hire me. Because there are people who want to hire me. There are people who are looking specifically for someone like me. And when my mindset shifted, even in that regard for marketing, and to learn who, my target audience is, I was able to use that to increase who we get as clients, and even to target our marketing specifically to those clients. I'm not marketing to the other competitors' clients necessarily. I'm marketing to the people that I know are looking for me. I had to shift my mindset on that because you drive on any big highway here and you see the same people, on those billboards. And I said, well, let me get my billboards and let me put my face out here. And it has worked. And people tell me all the time, they enjoy seeing me out there. But it took a lot for me to really hone into that and really dig deep and understand that use what you have to market
Yeah,
to the people who want to see you and to
yeah.
hire you.
Two very important things there is how you're different, which is very important. I think I tell everybody, I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll probably say it another 1,000 times. When people are trying to figure out whether, when they get in the car wreck or whatever, they got two questions on their mind. Do I need a lawyer? And if I do need a lawyer, why you? Why should I choose you? And I think that should be the first thing before you spend a dime on any billboard or anything. What is going to be your differentiator, your USP, United, whatever you want to call it. And I like the fact that you're finding out who your target audience is because I've seen so many mistakes made. So people need to pay attention to what you're saying because it's very, very important. And I see so many lawyers just try to throw money at stuff like spaghetti against the wall and hope half of it sticks. And it's wasteful and they can do it so much more economic because everybody doesn't want to hire a TV lawyer. Everybody doesn't want a white man. You know what I'm saying? They won't want an African American woman like you, or they might want somebody. I mean, we've got a member now that's Greek.
Mm.
He gets so many Greek referrals from other lawyers across the country. He's made a whole business out of doing nothing but getting Greek referrals from Greek lawyers. He's in all their organizations, and he's like you said, he's authentic. I mean, he's not doing it just to do that, but it's turned into that's who he is. He's very much about his culture and his history.
Yes.
So kudos to you, young lady.
Thank you, Ken. One more thing I want to just add as kind of that goes hand in hand with the marketing is once you get the client and we get the client, I'm very, very, one of the big things in our office is we're going to provide excellent client service because we want these clients to come back. We have had them come back 5 times even, but we want them to come back. I see marketing and client service going hand in hand, and we want to make sure that we're getting those good Google reviews that our clients have great things to say about us and that we really, treat them well, but also make sure that they hired us for a reason. We want to add value to their cases. How are we doing that? And to make sure that we're providing the value that they hired us for.
Right. Well, I think that's commendable. Yeah. I mean, I was big on that. I never said I could get you the most money, but I think I said putting you first, always putting you first, because whatever, there's a thing, Jay Abraham, he's written a lot of books. He's a genius marketer and just businessman, but he said, he calls it theory of preeminence, and everything you do should be for the betterment of your clients or your members or whoever, your customer. And if you get that mindset and kind of incorporate into your core values, it's going to come back tenfold because they're going to know you're going to be authentic about it and do it. Then they're going to see it. And not only are they going to come back 5 times, they're going to refer you 5 other their family members and friends. I think that's the biggest key. There's several keys for the future. We got all that. We got AI coming in. We got all the hedge money, the MSOs. Things are going to change, and you're not going to be able to outspend these hedge fund money. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. I mean, or the John Morgans of the world. So you got to do something that they can't do or they can't do as well. So I think you're on to something very smart. That was my big deal when I was practicing. I mean, we got good results, but that we didn't. That's not what we pushed. We pushed that we looked at you were like number one. Whatever we could do to make your life easier, service you. So good for you. What do you think about AI? I mean, are you starting to try to use it, or you wait to see what falls settles down and then going to get into it?
Nope, I'm in it. We're in it. Why wait?
Yeah.
You wait, you're going to be the firm that may not be sustainable. We're not waiting. We've been using AI for quite some time. I'm now exploring different ways to use it. I have even gotten to the point of, my staff, it's a directive. You need to use this. And I know that a lot of them, they're concerned or they have been. We at our strategic planning meeting this January, I showed them a picture. I said, AI, you're not going to lose your job because of AI, but if you don't use AI, then you may lose your job. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but I've been telling them that it's don't no fear that you're going to lose your job because of it. AI is going to help us to be and has helped us to do more and to be more capable
Yeah.
and just to be able to spread our wings a little bit more. And that's I think sometimes, when new systems come, you get people that are like, oh, I'm used to this and I'm kind of nervous about this and will it replace me? But we've had to have those discussions, but they have a directive that we're using these tools right now because others are using them and we can't be left behind.
Yeah. Well, thank you, April. Anything else you want to add before we close it up for today?
Well, just my final just thing about growth is for people going back to mindset. If you have a growth mindset, then you're going to grow because you're going to find ways to grow. You're going to sit and implement the things that you need to implement. That's one thing that I feel like I've always had a growth mindset, but maybe not knowing how. And so link up with, some organizations or some type of people that can help you because you don't know what you don't know. And I hear you say that, Ken, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you don't know it, find somebody that can help you because what I've learned for the most part in this space, there are people who will help you. There are people who are here to assist. I haven't found many that close, say no. Most of them
Yeah,
will help. You just gotta, just ask the questions.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, April. I will see you at the summit. You're going to be one of our panel members on the first day, if I remember correctly.
Yes, super excited about that as well.
All right. Yep. I'll throw a little plug in for the summit. We got over 40 speakers. April's going to be one of them. We'll have a lot of lawyers, not just vendors, but we will have 80 vendors there. And we're going to have some breakout sessions with AI and just how to use it in marketing management, stuff about this MSOs and buying and selling law firms. We got experts coming in about that. And then we got people like you talking about how they have double, triple, quadruple their practices and sharing, because they made it so big now, they're not worried about anybody catching them. So they're willing. I've got some of our guys that are in 8-figure groups going to share how they have gone from, 300,000 to 30 million. It didn't happen overnight either. It's over 10, 12-year period, but that's still a lot of growth, I think. That's,
Yes.
but anyway, yeah, that's like 100 times growth, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, so it's possible. And I think that's the key. Keep your mind open. It's anything's possible. You can't quit talking about why something won't work and start thinking about why something will work. I think that's the biggest, like you said, the mindset. Quit coming up with excuses why something won't work. Try to figure out excuses why something will work.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Well,
Well,
I'm excited to see you in San Antonio, Ken.
all right. Thank you so much. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.